Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, your close friend George Osborne has been criticised after reportedly claiming he will not rest until Theresa May is chopped up in bags in my freezer. Charming. The former Chancellor, now editor of the London Evening Standard, made the remark about the Prime Minister to more than one person, according to a profile in Esquire. Daniel Finkelstein, what's going on in George Osborne's mind?
My first reaction was that's the last time I'm going to let him cook for me. He is trying to edit a paper with verve, and I don't think he minds anymore who he offends, particularly not if it's the Prime Minister, because obviously their relationship didn't recover from his departure from the government.
But this is gruesome, isn't it, to use that sort of comment and remark, however vengeful you're feeling?
I don't think he was actually planning to chop her up and put her in the freezer. I think
well,
I think it might just conceivably have been a joke. But, you know, the truth is that he's made the Evening Standard compelling doing it. It's not, he hasn't said it to me because he knows it's not my view, but he is trying, and I think succeeding, in making people read his paper. And when you edit, you tell people very clearly what you want, and that's obviously what he's done. So
there's no filter going on here. Well, as you say, he's trying to promote his newspaper. He's trying to promote himself in his job. But does this cross a line? Did it cross a line in your mind?
Well, he would have done if he'd said it on the record, but if he says it to somebody in the newsroom, not really. I mean,
except he knows it's going to leak.
Well, it's up to him, I suppose. You know exactly how he puts things, and I don't quite put it the same way. But I think that is a fact that the Evening Standard is made punchy and interesting by the interaction between him and the Prime Minister. I didn't, by the way, agree with how the government dealt with him, which I didn't think was a good idea.
And do you think that's
I thought it was always quite likely to produce that reaction. And you know, in politics you reap what you sow, so I suppose that's what's happened. But, you know, I'm not too po-faced about it because I know him quite well and I can imagine his face when he said it. Right,
so you can imagine him saying it. Did he say it to you? Because apparently he said it to more than one person.
He didn't say it to me, but as I say, I don't think he thinks it would receive a great audience. But I can easily imagine him saying it, yeah, because he's quite a punchy person and he's got quite a sort of lot of wit about him. And I think he was just trying to express to his journalists what he sort of wanted the paper's attitude to be. Because he certainly does think, and she's probably right, there is a gap for a newspaper in the place where he's placing the Evening Standard.
But it's not just about the newspaper, this is about him, and this is about, as you say, I mean, he's consumed, it seems, by revenge because of the way he was sacked by Theresa May, and, you know, in political discourse, these things happen. He obviously isn't planning a return to frontline politics anytime soon.
Well, I guess not. But that he's trying to do his job properly. And, you know, look, everyone can take their own view about how diplomatic this is or whether they like the metaphor or not. But, you know, the fact is he's trying to make the Standard very readable, and no other newspaper columnist should blame another person in the paper business for using too colourful a metaphor.
But he's still a Conservative,
sure.
And with every scathing attack on Theresa May, he strengthens the hand of Jeremy Corbyn and Conservative critics. Well, you can understand why Tory MPs might be splitting blood.
There's actually something of a political difference, I think, between my position on this and his. I think he thinks that the Prime Minister has gone further than she should in implementing the Brexit vote. He believes we should leave the European Union, is my understanding. Yes, it's definitely about that, or at least very substantially about that. And I'm of the view that she has no choice as the Prime Minister but to implement what people wanted, even though it wasn't what I wanted. So I think there is a difference of attitude, but most importantly, he thinks there's a gap for the Standard to say that, and that's what he's trying to do, I think.
Is he on a mission to destroy Theresa May?
Well, you'll have to ask him that question. I think that, you know, I can read the paper and make the same judgment that you are. They clearly don't like her very much, do they?
No. Well, I think we've all noticed that. However, much deduction needs to go into it. Let's talk about something else briefly, and that's the fact that the Culture Secretary is going to refer this attempted takeover by 21st Century Fox of Sky. Do you think that's the right decision?
I don't really know, actually, is the answer, because it's about a commercial thing. My view has always been that it makes an awful lot of sense for this merger to take place. That's always been my view right from the beginning. I don't think it raises the competition question. I don't think it'll raise the political question.
Right.
I've always been in favour of it. Now, don't forget that I'm the last person to be authoritative on this because I work in a paper that is owned by News UK.
So do you understand why they might want to investigate sort of potential broadcasting standards?
I completely understand what the resistance to it is, and I've always thought it was primarily a combination of politics and an attempt to defend the economic position of people who want to compete with. So, for example, the BBC took that stance, which I thought was a completely wrong thing to do in the initial debate. So I've always been fairly punchy about it, but I've recognised that my punchiness has to come with the warning, well, he would say that, wouldn't he?
Right, and plurality you've talked about, but what about this idea of standards, the foxification is the word that is used of other outlets?
Well, I don't think that is going to be the plan with Sky. And Sky has been an amazing success and has been an amazing revolution in television and communications in Britain. So I think it's been, a good thing. But again, one of the reasons that I'm very content to work for a newspaper that's owned by Rupert Murdoch is I think he's done a lot of very good things in the media business. So I just don't take the same view that other people do. But I recognise that, as I say, I'm not a neutral person.